Damn. All right, guys, we just had a really good take, and I wasn't even recording, dude. Dang it. Welcome to Veteran Patriots Nation. My name is Tim. Today, we're accompanied by my friend Ben.
What's up, YouTube?
And we're going to be going over some detailed compatibility requirements for the Atrius Super Selektor, the trigger, the lower, the upper, the BCG, and touch a little bit on some non-compatible triggers and some things to look out for PCC. Before we do start getting into parts, Atrius wants me to let you guys know that the Super Selektor is 100% drop-in unit. Okay, there's no need to cut, file, sand, or modify any part of your blaster whatsoever. Okay, you don't have to do it to the trigger, the upper, the selector, and none of that. Okay, it's a drop-in unit, and if you guys are having issues with your selector running as it should in your blaster, it is solely due to compatibility. For further proof, I myself have ran into compatibility issues with the Super Selektor, but by swapping out a specific part, I was able to fix that. But we'll get into that here in a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's start with triggers, man. Triggers seem to be a really hot topic for the Super Selektor right now. While the Super Selektor is advertised and marketed to work with mil-spec AR-15 with mil-spec trigger and mil-spec parts, it will actually work with other triggers that are not mil-spec. But let's just touch on the mil-spec aspect first. Okay, you're gonna want a single stage trigger with a rear trigger bar that is closed-ended, flat, no U-notch, with as close to 90-degree angles as possible, just like this, and not ramped. You don't want it ramped or soft sloped on the back or any steps or anything like that, okay? So that's a good example, and I'll be showing you guys some B-roll of a good trigger right now, and this is actually a bad trigger. Not that the trigger itself is bad, just when pairing with the Super Selektor, it's not compatible because of that U-notch you see back there.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure to show you guys a picture of a U-notch right now. If your trigger has a U-notch or is a two-stage trigger, unfortunately, it's not going to be compatible and you are going to have to swap that out. But we'll talk about some trigger recommendations here in a minute. Let's actually go to the trigger pins. Now, I do recommend that you use anti-walk pins. It's going to be the bar with the two screws on each side. I do recommend that. That way you know for a fact your trigger bar isn't going to slip out. And another thing that I've been getting a lot of questions about is the detents. So there's some force reset technology out there that requires a specific detent, right? Well, the Super Selektor does not. You can just use whatever detent you already have with whatever selector you're currently running. The only thing you're swapping out is the actual selector itself. You can keep the detent and detent spring, that's not an issue. So drop-in triggers. Some drop-in triggers do work, okay? A few things that you're gonna wanna look out for are trigger housing units that are enlarged or stacked really high, like the CMC trigger, the CMC drop-in trigger, the Trigger Tech Diamond, that's an adjustable trigger. I actually have it in that gun right there. That trigger is not going to be compatible because the adjustment aspect, it's getting in the way of the cam lever. Okay, so you're not going to want any crazy looking triggers like that. ATC Gold is another good example. That one unfortunately is not going to work, and that's one of my favorite triggers on the market. But what will work are triggers like the RA434 that I have in here. I have, I don't know, probably 8, 9, 10,000 rounds on Super Selektor mode right now. I mean, you've been to the range with me how many times? We'll dump 500 rounds in a range trip easily.
Just have a good time.
So yeah, guys, if you hear my dogs barking, I'm sorry. They're boxers. They're wild feral beasts. They do what they want. Other triggers that are compatible are triggers like the Jacob Gray Signature Series trigger. I have 2 of those. I have one in that gun and I have another unused one hanging on the wall. Those work great. And if you guys do want to ensure that your trigger is going to be compatible, you can go onto the Atrius website, and under the support tab on top, you're going to find the compatibility list. Scroll down there, you can see compatible triggers. You can see entire builds that people have done, as well as complete off-the-shelf guns that are compatible as well. And if you guys do want to add your compatible rifle to the list, go ahead and hit up Atrius. Send it over to them at contactatrius.dev. As well as if you guys have any troubleshooting, install, or compatibility questions, email them at the same email, contact at atrius.dev, and one of the support team members over there will be able to help you guys out. Not you, you come to me.
Exactly.
All right.
I do have
yeah.
a Geisley SDE with me, so I've heard that the Geisley is not compatible with the Atrius, and I know a lot of people love Geisley.
It's a very famous trigger. I myself have received a lot of emails or comments in the DMs and comments down below on YouTube. And unfortunately, the Geisley triggers are not compatible right now. Yeah, it sucks, but it's because of the two-stage aspect of it. The rear trigger bar dimension that we talked about is just really off. A lot of them have a U-notch, like this is open-ended. If you look down in there, it's an open-ended trigger. So yeah, it's not going to work right now, but Atrius Development Group hears us. They understand that Geisley triggers are one of the most popular triggers on the market, so they're actually in the middle of testing what they're calling the G lever right now. So the G lever is going to be compatible with Geisley triggers and can be just swapped out with the current cam lever that you have, and that's the only part you need to swap out. Atrius hasn't told me a hard release date for the G lever yet, but since they're in the middle of testing it, and I know they've had incredible success through testing their G lever, it hopefully should be released here pretty soon. And if you guys do want to stay in the loop of when that's going to drop, go on the Atrius website. At the bottom left-hand corner, I believe is where it is. You can sign up for the email alerts. That's where they're going to tell you about the G lever, when it's going to be released, tell you when order windows are going to open, when they're going to close, and future projects as well. So let's go ahead and talk about the lower. So with a lower receiver, you are going to want a low shelf, not a high shelf. You, the viewers right now, should be seeing B-roll right now showing you the difference between a high shelf and low shelf. You can also just Google it. That's where I pulled the picture that I just showed you guys. On top of being a low shelf, you're going to want a full profile trigger pocket. Okay, trying to avoid using certain words here on YouTube, and I'm sure you guys are smart enough to understand what I mean. M16 trigger pocket too. That's going to be compatible. If you have any weird, crazy looking trigger pockets, guys, avoid using it, even if it's a single stage. Not a lot, but a few people have hit me up and emailed me and whatnot that I've helped troubleshoot, and their lower receivers has some trippy looking trigger pocket. Yeah, it's a lower receiver. Told them to switch the lower, and it just happened to fix the problem. So it was the trigger pocket. So M16 full profile trigger pocket, low shelf. Sweet. Is what you're gonna want. A lot of people are asking too about, and I know you asked about it earlier, high shelf, or not high shelf, 308. Yeah, AR10 lowers. Unfortunately, AR10 lowers are a high shelf, but I believe Atrius Development Group is coming out with a high shelf compatible selector as well here pretty soon. So I've also helped some people troubleshoot their blasters. Everything that these people are using is compatible, 100% compatible. Even parts that I personally use. So I know these parts are compatible. But for example, one gentleman I was helping, again, everything was compatible. He was using an Anderson lower. I told him just go ahead and try to use a different lower. I think we have some crazy tolerance stacking going on. Swap out the lower. He said, okay, I have the exact same lower as the one I have now, just different serial number. He swapped over and it worked just fine. So even if you do have a lower, or you, the viewers, if you guys have a lower receiver that seems to be compatible, everything else you're using is compatible, but it's just still not working, try swapping out the lower. I know that's a cheap cop out, but yeah, some lowers, even though they're supposed to be compatible, meet all the compatibility requirements, just the tolerances, man. We got tolerance stacking going on. Yeah. While we're on the lowers, let's go ahead and talk about the buffers. So Atrius does recommend that you use just a regular buffer spring, okay? You don't need anything crazy, yellow spring, red spring, green spring, whatever color of the rainbow spring you want to use. It's not necessary. Just use a regular spring with an H2 or H3 buffer. It depends on your build, your barrel length, your gas length, dwell time, that kind of stuff. But H2 or H3 is going to serve you very well. And the key to the buffer weight, other than the weight itself, is ensuring that the internal weights can shake or rattle, okay?
Okay.
That's going to be important. That's going to help you eliminate bolt bounce, hammer follow, dead triggers, stuff like that, light primer strikes, especially when it comes to the PCCs. Okay, those are direct blowback PCCs. We'll touch on that here in a second. But if you notice, there's no bolt that rotates and locks into the chamber, right? This is just direct blow. It just slams into the chamber, okay? So with that shaking weight, that's going to help it eliminate bolt bounce, out of battery detonations, and what that is in the middle of the bouncing or before it can finish closing, the round goes off before it's fully in battery, before the face of your BCG is against the face of the chamber of the barrel. Now for the uppers. So a lot of people are actually shaving the U-notch of their uppers right here. Again, Atrius Development Group does not recommend that because the selector is 100% drop-in unit. There's no need to cut, shave, modify anything. So if you are experiencing that, then it's tolerance stacking. Just, you know, hit me up or hit up somebody at Atrius and they'll be able to help you figure it out. But yeah, some people are actually shaving back the U-notch. If you see here, I actually had a little bit of wear to my upper right there. I noticed that and dialed it down to being my BCG. So I swapped out the BCG, and we'll touch on that here in a second as to why I swapped out the BCG. So swapped out the BCG and it worked. I didn't have to file it down. There was no more additional wear, nothing like that. It was just a compatibility issue. So if you guys are having an issue with your selector running, you don't need to modify anything. Just swap out whatever incompatible part you're running and it should fix the problem. BCGs. So with BCGs, you're going to want a full profile BCG, okay, not a semi-auto BCG. And how you can tell the difference is the cut right here on a full profile BCG, the cut on top and bottom, or that ramp, is going to be even with each other. If you have a semi-auto BCG, the bottom is going to be probably halfway up, maybe a third of the way further up, okay? And for you guys, you should see some B-roll pictures right now of what I'm talking about.
I think the BCM would work.
The BCM BCG?
Yeah.
I would imagine it would, but again, I need to see the BCG in order to know, because there are actually non-critical aspects of the BCG that you need to consider as well. And if you guys think I'm wrong about this, if there's a gun nerd out there who knows more than I do, I know a lot, but I don't know everything. Okay. So if I am wrong about this, then correct me. But this bottom part of the BCG, that's almost even with that U-notch, okay, right here.
Yeah.
So that is a non-critical aspect of the BCG, okay? So when I started noticing wear, I looked at my BCG and I noticed that the PSA BCG that I was running wasn't a soft ramp right here, okay? It had hard step downs, okay? And I thought, okay, maybe the selector is binding on the hard steps instead of being able to just roll. So I swapped over to a Faxon BCG that is a soft ramp, just like this one, and it fixed the issue. I wasn't having any more binding, no more additional wear or damage to my upper, and the only difference, right down to the thousandths of an inch, I measured the difference between that PSA BCG and the Faxon BCG. It was the exact same BCG, right down to the thousandths of an inch, except for that area right there. So pay attention to that. Again, if you guys think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong down below and explain why. Actually, let's touch on some 9mm stuff real quick. So even though the selector is advertised and marketed to work with a mil-spec AR-15 with mil-spec trigger and parts, it will work in other platforms like a direct blowback 9mm PCC, roller delayed PCCs like the Kuna through the use of a Nexus lower and a trip bar. But let's just touch on direct blowback 9mm PCCs. That's a more prevalent firearms platform when it comes to PCCs, okay? So your 9mm BCG is going to have potentially a weight pinned inside the back of the BCG. So with this being the front with the extractor, the back of the BCG, some of them have a weight pinned in there. You can see a weight in there.
Yeah.
Well, the weight and Again, not all 9mm BCGs are like this, just some of them. So you got to pay attention because this absolutely will break your cam lever. So if you have a pin weight, it's actually going to protrude past the BCG, okay, right inside the body. And what you're going to need to do is mark that weight to where it's flush with the BCG itself. And then take this anti-roll pin out. It's super easy to remove. And then you're going to need to either cut that weight so that it is flush with the BCG when installed, or just keep the weight and that pin out completely and supplement the loss of weight from the BCG with a heavier buffer. We were talking about it earlier, but you beat me to the punchline. You knew exactly where I was going with it. So yeah, hopefully you guys understood that as well. You should have seen B-roll pictures and stuff of what I'm talking about. You really have to ensure that the weight is flush because that cam needs to be able to be tripped by the BCG. Okay.
Right.
Well, if the weight is protruding, then it's gonna bind up and it's gonna snap the cam lever, guaranteed. When it comes to PCC's other requirements, you are going to want a rather heavy buffer. So if you guys are running it in a PCC, please, I'm begging you, be careful for the out of battery detonations and light primer strikes and stuff like that. It can get dangerous, especially if you are having to cut the weight or anything like that. I recommend just removing the weight altogether and getting a heavier buffer, like an H10 or heavier. So
sounds like that'd be the easier solution.
It really would be, yeah, because I mean you're gonna need a bandsaw or something to have a clean cut on that weight. So yeah, the best bet is just to take it out and get a heavier buffer altogether, or a heavier spring, or both.
Right.
Yeah.
I do have one question though. Is there certain lubrication requirements for the Atrius Super Selektor?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
There's no requirements, but some people are using different lubrications like gun butter. Okay, they're just putting some gun butter on the actual cam lever itself and any metal on metal or moving parts. I like to put some on the rear trigger bar and inside the camshaft, because you have little cuts on the camshaft that interfaces with the rear trigger bar. I use petroleum jello sauce. It's gun lube. Okay, it's not like super watery gun lube. It's actually kind of like kind of thick. But yeah, I put some of that stuff on there. It's not required, but it is recommended. That was a really good question, dude. I really like that. Yeah. So this is what the bottle looks like. Maybe I'll throw in a picture for you guys. Petroleum jello sauce. I don't know how expensive this is. I think I got this at SHOT Show, so I don't know.
So it does last a while.
It does last a while, yeah.
Okay.
And if you guys are looking for, I think it's all packed away, but if you guys are looking for a general use CLP, check out Bore Products. They're actually one of my sponsors, and they're actually sponsoring the Gundy's Award too. I'll be making a video very soon about that. Yeah, they make high quality CLP. It's a cleaner and lubricant. It smells great. It's made here in America with all natural ingredients, and it really does work great. Starts cutting through the carbon the second you spray it on, man. It's impressive. Nice. And I have a discount code VPN15 that will save you 15% off at checkout at Bore Products. And it'll help me out. I don't get a kickback, but it does help justify my sponsorship with them. So please go buy some Bore Products. They also have a tool cleaner and lubricant, which is great for the garage. Yeah. You know, we live in the South. So that's really good. Keep your tools from rusting. And they have co-branded Otis cleaning kits as well. Tiny little cleaning kits with everything you need, nothing you don't, and it fits perfectly in every range bag. So check those out too, guys. Again, nice. VPN15. Hey, thanks for that, dude. I almost forgot. All right. Hey, guys, I think that's all. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Please support the channel by hitting the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and email me with any compatibility questions at vpnation10@gmail.com. Till next time. Cheers. All right. Were we recording?
No.
No, we were.